Okay, let's look at this problem here, which could be complicated for some students. So we're going to use the good old PEMDAS, but we're going to think about it a little different. We're going to do parentheses. So you want to do the innermost parentheses, which is those. And I've just got to copy everything else. The absolute value is a parentheses or a type of parentheses. It's called a grouping symbol. But so I'm going to keep this -3 here, which is this one here. And then I'm going to work on the 2 plus 1, which is 3. Now I'm going to put it in parentheses just to keep it in its own kind of separate. Now I have these brand new parentheses, right? These here. I don't want you to really think of those as parentheses in the sense of the PEMDAS, because now what actually these parentheses represent is multiplication. Okay, so I've done what I needed to do inside the parentheses, and now I have just the standalone 3 that I'm going to need to do something with it, and that's what I mean. It's going to be multiplication, but we'll deal with that here in a second. Actually, that's what we're gonna do next. But first, we need to just bring down the +4. Okay, and then so now, and it there's so much stuff here that it might be hard for you to see where to go. That could be a piece that's real confusing. So if you could, work on your where to focus, and that would have to be here now. That might not be real obvious to you. That means I have to copy everything else, the 22, the -3, the absolute value. And I'm going to work on the -3 times 3, which is -9. Plus 4. So we went from like a grouping, which was up here, this piece here, to a multiplication. So it might not feel like it's following the PEMDAS because we're going to go back to the parentheses/grouping. Because now I have to deal with the absolute value here is working as a grouping symbol. So I went from grouping over here to multiplication, and I've got to go back a step in terms of the PEMDAS to grouping. So I'm going to copy the 22 and the -3. And what I mean to deal with a grouping, I actually have to take the -9 and the 4 and add. So even though I'm dealing with a grouping symbol, the way I'm dealing with it is by actually doing the operation, which is addition. -9 plus 4 is -5. So that's why the PEMDAS is not as straightforward as sometimes teachers try to make it seem. And then now PEMDAS doesn't really say anything about absolute value. But that's what I need to do next. So I need to deal with this absolute value. So let me do it over here. 22 minus 3, and then the absolute value of This got kind of messy here. The absolute value of -5 is 5. And then you add and subtract from left to right. There's only one. I'm sorry, you multiply and divide from left to right. Add and subtract is the last thing. There's only one multiply, and that's a little tricky as well because you may be wondering, should I multiply the -3 and the 5, or do I multiply the 3 and the 5? And what makes the most sense is to leave this minus sign here and to multiply the 3 and the 5, which is 15. And then your final step is 22 minus 15, which is 7. Okay. And so I did sort of follow the PEMDAS, but there's a lot of little nuances and little rules in between that you have to be aware of. And if you haven't learned it in the past, you have to try to capture some of those details.